I've started. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone can hear me. My name is Greg. I'm a solutions architect at Navision Tech, and today's topic is going to be about Power Automate and how we are able to save a lot of money with Power Automate. This is a real story. It's not made up. You can save a ton of money for yourself and for your clients. If you're a consultant, listen up. If you're a customer, also listen up, because your CFO, your CEO, they will say thank you. We've built this flow for some of our clients and decided that this flow can be used by many. And this is what I'm about to show you. We at Navision Tech, where we deal with primarily wholesale and retail customers. We're also an LS Retail Platinum and Diamond partner. It changes from year to year. Let's dive in straight into the topic. Let me switch my screen here real quick. The problem that people face with capacity, with Business Central capacity, is a real problem. I'm sure we all have seen the capacity reaching to the max, or even over capacity. Some clients have purchased additional capacity because they have to, and this capacity is not cheap. This capacity costs $600 per every 100 gigs of data. I mean, per 100 gigs of space. I don't know if I'm not sharing my screen here. I'm going to share my screen here. This capacity costs $600 per 100 gigabytes, and that is per month. If some of the clients or you are over capacity, and you are over capacity, let's say by 700 gigs, or you need capacity for, let's say, 400 gigs, you can do the math. 7 times 600 a month times 12, that turns out to be a pretty significant amount a year. Of course, capacity in Business Central can be taken up by a lot of things, not just document attachments. It could be taken by the event log. It could be taken up by lots of transactions from manufacturing, or from posted packages, or whatnot. So there are many different areas, different tables that you can take a look at to determine what takes up the capacity. More often than not, a lot of the capacity is taken up by document attachments. We, out of convenience, we can upload files to the sales orders, purchase orders, any documents, and these attachments reside in Business Central. It is very convenient, but once we get over capacity, it can get very expensive. And then everybody starts questioning, why is it getting so expensive? One very easy way to see what is taking up the capacity is in this table information page. It'll give you number of records and the size of the table. And we found that that more often than not, the space is taken up by either document attachments or incoming document attachments. So sometimes users will attach actual attachments, and other times without realizing, users will attach documents as incoming documents. Now, if you know, incoming document attachments are used for optical character recognition or some other processing, but users are users, right? They will do whatever is allowed to do, and if nobody showed them what to do, they will start attaching documents anywhere. Now, this has taken a while. Sorry, probably because there's a lot to calculate. In the meantime, the solution to this problem is to find another spot for these attachments to live in. Another spot to live in is of course SharePoint. SharePoint offers very cheap storage space. I think every organization gets like 5 terabytes or something like that. Don't quote me on this, but there is a lot of space available, and it's super cheap. A lot cheaper than space for Business Central. So just doing quick math, some of our clients have saved over $25,000 just by moving the attachments from their attachment tables to SharePoint. This is still working on it, not a problem. So the solution is to move those attachments into cheaper storage and or start saving them at SharePoint, which is that cheaper storage. However, if we are going to start saving them at SharePoint, first we have to save the file at SharePoint, get the link, paste the link here, and that's kind of cumbersome. It's a lot easier for the user to just upload file here or drop this file here, and then it's attached. In comparison, saving it in the SharePoint and copying and pasting the link here is quite a hassle, especially if you're attaching it to the sales order. Sales order will will get posted, and some documents do not carry over the links. Some are, but anyway, this has proven to be a little different from the ease of attaching the attachment. To solve this problem and the problem of having documents attached already, we've created this flow that essentially after it initializes some of the variables, it will go into Business Central, and it'll download the attachments one by one, create the file in SharePoint, create the link to share, log what just happened, relink it into the links system table, and delete the attachment. Now it sounds pretty easy, and but believe me, it's not. It took a little while to sort out all the problems, and this is what we will be discussing. This is what we will go over in detail today in the next 45 minutes. Hopefully we will get done in 45 minutes, and at the end, you will be able to go ahead and find what is required for these flows to operate in your environment, and what is required. What it consists of. It consists of two pieces. One piece is the Power Automate flow itself, which you can find on the app source. I got to say, it is a template. It is a working template, but you do have to sort of adjust it to your environment, to your system, to your needs. But this is going to be a great start for anyone. And the other piece is going to be the toolbox, and you'll see later on why it's important. Our toolbox, also a free app, it will allow us to expose those attachments. I will show this. I will show this once we dive in, and there is some information on our site about what we have done. If you're interested, just come visit our site. You might find some other interesting information. So again, we've discussed the problem. We've discussed the solution, and part of the problem is that it's just expensive and cumbersome, and with this flow we can maintain this ability to keep moving the attachments in an ongoing basis. And if you just want to do it one time, fine, you can do it one time, and then grow the database size, and then do it again. It's up to you. The flow, if you're familiar with Power Automate, you can set the recurrence. You can run it every hour, every 2 hours, every day. Whatever the recurrency you want to set it at, you can, but 1 hour will have a meaning, and you'll see why pretty soon. Next, we want to set some variables, simply because variables make life a little bit easier. Because we just want to set them once, and because everything is parameterized, those parameters just fall into place. It just makes a lot of sense. So these variables are everything we need to run the flow. We need the token variable. Token variable is used for authentication. For Power Automate to authenticate to Business Central. Now, I'm sure there are many different ways of accomplishing the same thing. So if anybody knows of a better way to do this, to do any of this, what I'm about to explain, let me know, please. If you're watching this live, or if you're watching the recording, comment, let us know. We'd be happy to make this better, and your contribution will be super important for us and for the community. We need the tenant ID, of course. Tenant ID is what identifies you to Microsoft. Yeah, maybe we can get tenant ID some other way, but we just decided to initialize it as a variable. We need our Business Central environment name. We will put it in here. Ours is called EasyEFT demo. We need a company name, big wins in our case. We need the company ID as a GUID. If you don't know how to get a GUID of a company, it's really easy. We will search for companies, and we will hit Control Alt F1 on our keyboard, and this ID is what we need. We can just copy and paste that. You'll see why that is important, why it's not enough just to have the company name, but also company ID, because there are a couple different methods that can be used to retrieve the attachments, depending on what you're retrieving. To make this all happen, we also decided to use a registered application, which will need permissions in Business Central. If you don't know how to do that, I think we have a video specifically on how to make that happen. It's really easy. It takes about 5 minutes to do. We're not going to go over it here, but essentially this creates like a username and a password in form of client ID and a secret key, and you allow it in Business Central to perform tasks, and you do that in Business Central under Entra applications. You create you register your application, and then you give it rights just like you would give the rights to a user. All right. Pretty simple. And of course, we're gonna provide this secret value in here. Not gonna provide it here right now because we don't have a lot of time, but this is where it's gonna go. In the next variable, we're gonna provide the number of records we wanna process in one batch. So this record count, what it means is that whenever this flow starts, it'll go through 1,000 records and handle and therefore handle 1,000 attachments in that batch. Now, depending on the size of your attachments, you may want to reduce it to 500 or 100. What we found is that Power Automate can process about 500 attachments comfortably an hour. So we're going to set that to 500. And next, we're going to need to provide our SharePoint site where we want our attachments to go, and provide the folder within that site where it's going to go. So I have my folders here created. I've created these folders in mind with the areas of Business Central: finance, other, purchase, sales, and service. So the document attachments, when they get to live within Business Central, they inevitably are attached to either a sales document, a purchase document, a finance document, or service. If you're a service module user, there will be attachments attached to some service documents. And there is a handful of others, or attachments that may not be attached anywhere. In the case of incoming documents, that can happen. And the solution also provides for logging mechanism. We've decided to create a very simple log that will essentially record what has happened. It will list all the attachments that have been created with their system ID, and you can add other parameters like date, time, record ID, whatever you want, and I'll show you how to do that. SharePoint library is another important piece to provide. So SharePoint site address, SharePoint folder where you want to put, and the document library. So document library in SharePoint is nothing but like how you structured your SharePoint. It could be called documents, it could be called attachments. So if you deal with SharePoint, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, just take a look at how SharePoint structures its file structures. But aside from SharePoint, you can also save your files to OneDrive. But if you want your files to be available to other team members, I think SharePoint is a better choice. So now that we have initialized all the variables, we need to authenticate. And a real easy way to authenticate to Microsoft, to any services at Microsoft, and feel free to use this information for anything else. This action in Power Automate will authenticate you to any Microsoft service. We weren't able to find a good built-in way to authenticate globally, so we've decided to build this web action that simply but surely will get the token and all you need is your tenant ID. Remember, we were talking about setting variables, and here we are using our variables. You need your client ID and client secret, and we can specify the scope of where we're authenticating, but if you're gonna use this information for anything else, you can you will be able to use it. I think you can just even remove the scope, and it'll still authenticate you to the tenant. Now, it's important to provide this body here, because otherwise it won't authenticate. And obviously the authentication type is going to be Active Directory OAuth, and again, we need to provide the tenant ID, again the client ID, and the client secret here again. So this action alone can you just feel free to use it as a template for anything else. It does use the sort of a global global audience for authentication, not just Business Central. So when we have initialized our variables, you may have noticed that when we initialized the token, we kept it empty, because down below we would set it. And setting the token variable comes from the previous step, where we get the token from the response of this web request. So web requests, they work in such a way that, and those who know, they know. But if you don't, web requests work such a way that they create a request, and a response is given. So when we're setting this token, we're reading the response from the get token step. Having that token now enables us to run our next super important step. This step essentially gets the list of attachments that we want to work with. Now, this URI points to whatever tenant we set in our variables, whatever environment name, whatever company name, and it points to this preset document attachments endpoint. This is the endpoint that is exposed through installing our Business Central Toolbox. This endpoint is available through this free app, and when this URI is hit, it also retrieves the number of records that we have specified in our initialized record count variable. So if we specified 500, it'll get 500 records, and it will store them in Power Automate's memory, and start doing next steps. Next steps are therefore to format this response into a readable table, which again stays in Power Automate's memory. This table is this table is essentially a schema that defines the response of the previous step. So each step is kind of dependent on the previous step, and in order to create this table, we kind of have to enumerate what we're getting as a response. This should stay as is, but if anyone decides to do something custom, add a field to this API, this schema obviously will need to change. Otherwise, the flow will fail on this step. And if you didn't know, Power Automate has this cool feature where you can use a sample payload to generate this schema. So if you, for instance, if you are testing in Postman or just have a sample response, you can paste it in here, and Power Automate will generate the schema for you, so you don't have to guess what to do with it. This is really cool. In the next step, just for safety purposes, we can do further steps with this table. For instance, if we've decided to filter out any attachments where their ID equals to zeros. How it can happen? Well, it can happen. It can happen if there are some orphaned records. Not saying it will happen in every environment, but just in case there are any orphaned records, this step will just filter them out, and it will not error further, and it will not create blank files for you. And just keep in mind that you can use this step here to filter out things that you just want to filter out. Let's say that you just want to deal with purchase documents or sales documents. You can basically create a query here. Instead of body attachment, you can say just give me something like file size over 5 gigs or 5 megabytes, or give me just attachments created by a certain user or whatnot. So filtering here will actually make that happen. Now that we have gotten our to-do list, kind of this step, I call it getting a to-do list from Business Central. These are the attachments that we need to handle. So now let's handle them. And now one by one, we are going to go through each record, and that's why there is this loop created. The loop is applied to each, but you can change this. You can call this whatever you want for convenience purposes, but we just left it to apply to each as default. And by the way, any of these steps you can change. By default, this comes as HTTP, but for readability, we just decided to call this download media because that's what this step does. And the more complicated your Power Automate is, the more you will want to name these whatever they supposed to do. Otherwise, you may just go insane. So download media hits the same endpoint, but it adds the ID of the attachment retrieved from each individual record. So remember, we got our list of 500 records, 500 attachments to do, but because we're applying to each, we are essentially doing this 500 times until we're done. This ID will change 500 times, and adding /content essentially allows this endpoint to directly download the content from this attachment in binary form. Now that we have this content, we got to do something with it, which is where the next step comes in. Until now, we've just downloaded the content and we haven't done anything with it. Next step, create file. In the beginning, we've defined our site address, folder path, where we're going to put the file, and we also going to need our subfolder where each file is going to go. Now, this is where it becomes a little bit interesting. Remember, we've created these folders to organize ourselves. Anything that it's attached to purchase will go to purchase folder. Anything that's attached to the sales folder will go to the sales folder, and so on. And you can create your own rules, really, if you have some complicated idea how you want to organize it. Maybe you want to organize it by year. If the attachment was attached 3 years ago, maybe you want to put it into some other place. You can do all that. Maybe all the PDFs can go into PDF folder and JPEGs to another. Your choice, right? And in its simple form here, what we said is that we're saying with this formula, if the document type contains a word journal, that means we're channeling it to finance folder. But if it contains sales in the document type, we're channeling it to the sales folder, and so on. If it's blank or null, we're just putting it to other. As simple as that. But this can get more complicated if you want. So we've decided which site we're putting it in. We've decided which folder we're putting it in, which subfolder, and you can of course add subfolders, or you can even select the folder statically if you want. If you want them all in one folder and you don't care, just click this button and it'll pop open all the folders you have and all the sites you have. But because we want to be a little bit advanced here, we want control. We use these variables. Now, we found that sometimes files will be containing spaces or leading spaces and trailing spaces. Users get creative and somehow it happens, and we just use this trim function to to clean up that file name. And we provide the body of the previous step, which is, remember, we're talking about this downloads the content. Content is provided in the body. We can validate that by going into the dynamic content here, and we'll see that download media does provide the body as the response. So file content, the binary file content downloaded from this step is creating the file in your SharePoint. Once the file has been created, we do two things. We create the log in our Excel file. There's something going on with the authentication here. I'm not going to worry about it now, but we essentially point that point the log and some parameters to that file. Just sign in here. We'll let it. Oh, something was blocked by my browser. We'll let it process for now. Once the file has been created, we need to create a sharing link so that the file can be shared. The sharing link action requires that we provide what we're sharing and from which library and for what item. All of these are available from either from the previous step, like the item ID of the created file is available from this step, and the site address and the library name are available from the variables that we have set. We can define what type of link we're creating, whether it's going to be a view only or view and edit. I suggest for it to be view only, and how you want to share it. One important thing is that SharePoint folders will allow only up to 30,000 of these links shared. This is why in the cases where you have more than 30,000 of these attachments, this action is better off to be replaced by get file properties, and get file properties will contain a direct URL to that file. Another build of our flow contains an option to do it with just get file properties. So if it just depends how many of those attachments you have, and of course another workaround is just specify another library, and let's say you have 60,000 attachments in your Business Central. Well, that means you have to use two different SharePoint libraries. But if you just want to keep them in one, just replace this step with get file properties, and the URL in the next step will be retrieved from that step. I think all of that is also documented in our um, publicly available documentation about this. Once we've created the shared link, we need to relink the attachment back to Business Central. Now that's super important because otherwise if we delete the attachment from Business Central, then we will not know, the user will not know how to get to it. At this step, we just moved it out. We didn't save any space yet because we didn't delete it. We just created the file in SharePoint and that's it. But the two important steps here, and the reason they are important, I'll show you on these on this screenshot, is because before doing all this, the attachment sits under your documents in here. Let's say it's a PDF, or it could be whatever attachment. It sits in here, but once we link it back to the record, to this specific record, it ends up sitting in links shared to the folder that we have specified. Now, this create record endpoint is also part of our toolbox that is available for download. To create this link, again, you need to provide the environment name, company name, just this API category, and the name of the table, which is the system table that is the link, and the row that we will be providing will be taken from our result of filtered to-do list, and it's going to be the record ID. Where is my record ID? Let me just validate. So we get the filter, download media. It's going to be this this body ID is going to be our record ID. And having this record ID is going to let Business Central know where that attachment came from. Otherwise, Business Central will never know that that this link belongs to a specific record, and there could be many records, and we don't want to lose track of where they are attached. So that's super important. And this endpoint, when we're downloading the list of list of to-dos, we're also retrieving that destination as well, where it's supposed to be attached at the end. Once we have attached this record back to Business Central, to that specific record, now we can delete the attachment. The attachment has to be deleted for us to save space. Otherwise, if we don't do this, we created a copy of the attachment in our SharePoint, but we didn't delete anything from Business Central yet. So this delete action actually hits that same endpoint that we have created, and using the tenant ID and environment variables and the system ID of that particular attachment, deletes it. So it ensures that the integrity of it is intact, and it will only delete the attachment if the record has been created, if the file has been created, and keeping the log intact. I'm going to go back and see what is going on with this log. There are some important parts in there that I want to show you. What's important in here, of course, is going to be the location of the log, itself. I've configured it with variables, but it looks like it kind of disappeared on me. But you will provide the location of the file. So if it's in if my file is in this folder, I will simply go and select one of our libraries. Looks like we have a lot of libraries, so I'm not even going to try right now. Or location, then library, the file itself, and the table within the file. And when we select the table within the file, we will be able to map what parameter goes to what column. Just for purposes of actually demonstrating this, I wanna find it and show it to you, but I don't know, it may not be a good idea right now to do that, because there are so many of them, and I just don't want to hear and do a trial and error thing. Again, to summarize this, Business Central storage is quite expensive, and it can grow very, very quickly. To fix this issue, where some customers actually end up buying 7 blocks or 7.5 blocks of capacity, and spending money on the storage unnecessarily. Business Central provides a pretty cool way of linking the documents rather than attaching the entire file within the database. And as you already know, Power Automate is kind of included in your subscription. This uses entirely free Power Automate subscription plan. We have not paid anything to Microsoft in addition to use this Power Automate flow. This is not premium. This is not this does not require an additional license or anything like that. There are no hidden fees associated with this. There is no like per attachment moved pricing or anything like that. In fact, these apps are available for you to download and start using them for a limited time, at least for now. So any feedback, if you think that any of these steps could be made any better, any critique will be appreciated. You guys know where to find us. Our website is navisiontech.com. You may find some other cool stuff and follow us on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Instagram for some funny things that come up from time to time. We'll see you guys around. Take care.